Hi everyone. Today we're going to go through the basic economic problem. This is the very start of any economics course, and we're going to focus on the iGCSE edXL economics course, which tends to be the most standard course for GCSE economics. This all starts with two rather big, aspects of the basic economic problem. The first being finite resources. So, if we imagine the world, forgive my very badly drawn map of the world, you have Europe and Asia, South Australia, South America and North America, and the rest is water. The world only has a set number of resources. And with those resources, it's anything like fish, a finite number of fish, a finite number of trees that we can use for wood, or soil that we can use to farm on. But the other complex part of this is the unlimited wants that we have as humans. So, as a human, we could want an infinite number of things, ranging from a house or even a car. Again, excuse my incredibly terrible drawings. But the problem is that with all of these wants and needs, we get the basic economic problem, whereby the infinite wants are what we can classify as being demand, because that is what people would demand. And these are greater than the finite resources. Now, suppliers would use the finite resources. What happens is this leads to the basic economic problem. And in the basic economic problem, there are three main questions that we have to face. What to produce. So, for example, do we produce a table, or do we produce a chair? Do we produce a car? Do we produce a watch? How to produce it. And lastly, for whom to produce. Do we produce it for our people? Do we produce it for people in Brazil or China or America or France or South Africa? We also need to think about distribution, because in some way, if we are based in the UK and we want to produce goods for people in South Africa, we have to find a way of getting it to them. We need to think about different production methods. So, is there a method that is more productive or more efficient that we can use? And this all leads to an idea called opportunity cost. And this is the cost of the next best alternative. Now, again, forgive my really, really terrible drawings, but if I have a sheet of metal, for example, I can choose to either make a car, or, to simplify things, I can choose to make a watch. And we have massively simplified this because obviously there are a lot of different products that would require metal. But if we simplify it to just two objects or two products, we can think about, well, I can either make a car or I can make a watch. And if I make the car, I am unable to make the watch. So we have to think about ways in which we make this sacrifice, and how do we choose to produce it? Who is actually deciding what we produce as well? Is it the government? Are there private businesses? And this can lead to a production possibility curve or frontier. These are called PPCs. And again, we have a simplified version whereby we can have two products, or capital goods and consumer goods. So we can have consumer goods and capital goods. And the curve would look something like this. So if we can produce only consumer goods, we'd be at the red cross. Whereas if we can produce only capital goods, we'd be at the blue cross. Generally, we tend to be producing some combination of each, which means we're at the blue crosses. And what would happen is if we want to go from this combination here, so let's call that combination 1, and if we want to go to combination 2, we would have to give up this amount of consumer goods in order to increase this amount of capital goods. So the amount that we're giving up would be our opportunity cost. And if we were to go from option 2 to option 1, so if we were to increase our consumer goods, we would have to give up this amount of capital goods. So it would work the other way round. And ideally what we want is we want to increase the amount of goods and services we can produce in an economy. So if we were to look at a PPC, this would tell us all the different combinations of goods and services that we can produce in our economy. So if we are at this point here, A is deemed to be inefficient. So anything inside our PPC is inefficient. So if we have our consumer goods and our capital goods, the reason it's inefficient is because at this point, if we're producing this many capital goods, we're only producing a few consumer goods, whereas realistically, in our economy, we can produce far more, which is why it would be deemed to be inefficient. Anywhere on the line, let's say point B or C, these are efficient because we are maximizing the use of our resources. And anywhere outside the curve, so point D, would be deemed to be unattainable. Again, the reason being, if we were to produce this level of consumer goods, we should only be able to produce this level of capital goods, but it's saying that we're producing far more. Again, that's unattainable. And the way that we can increase our PPC, so we want it to move out, that is far better for us. There are several ways in which we can do that. So to increase our PPC, we can firstly have new technology. So with new technology, we can have new machines and robots and computers that can work quicker or become more efficient, and they can work for 24 hours a day without stopping, whereas humans need a break. They can make fewer mistakes and so on. We can improve our efficiency. Now, over the years, many different industries have improved their efficiency. As industries evolve, they become far more efficient in terms of even the layout of a factory, for example. Rather than having someone pick up a box from one location, walk to another location, put it over there for storage, they can get it straight off the production belt. That box is placed where it needs to be. You can look at things like education or training. So if people are far better trained or educated, they generally have better ideas or better ways of doing things. They know how to use the new technology. They know what the current production methods are. They can look to improve these methods, which again lead to more efficient and quicker ways of production, which means you can make more in your day. And lastly, you have new resources. So new resources allow you to say, okay, we don't just have this much, gold, for example. We found a whole new resource, so we can make more gold chains, or we can make more Cartier bangles, or whatever else it is. And that is it in terms of the basic economic problem. So the main things to remember are what we want to produce, how to produce it, and who to produce it for, as well as the concept of opportunity cost. What are you giving up in order to make something different? And the fact that we have a finite number of resources and unlimited wants, which is also really important to, not waste resources and find really, really good methods of production as well.